And hello, 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 my dears. One moment, I understand that you doesn't see me, because small troubles. Now I hope you see me good and hear me good. Today I'm not alone. Today I will be with my friend. It's my best 4E volunteer ever. Traditionally, we make sound check, and after it, I present for you my friend. I'm C first pluses. It means do you hear me good? And right pluses if you see me and my friend. I ask three pluses in a chat. Beautiful, beautiful. I'm C that you see me and you hear me. Okay, my dears, we are starting our broadcast. Today I'm not alone. Today I'm invite in our broadcast my best volunteer ever. It's Ozzy. You so many times hear about him. It's Ozzy with call sign Weekend. Weekend, say hello to our subscribers.
How you going? Thank you for subscribing.
I hope do you hear Danny good? You hear Weekend good, and if you hear Weekend and if you see Weekend, just write in a chat. I'm see and hear Weekend. Sorry for so long camera and sounds checking because the streaming with application like a Discord or something like this, it's little bit uh, difficult them just a streaming with a application for a long streaming. And so good. I'm here that you are here, Weekend. And yes, today we will discussing about foreign experience in Ukraine. You many times hear about my experience working as a 4E, and now you have opportunity to hear about 4E experience with me. And we can, I think for the our subscribers will be very, very interesting how we meet with you, how was our first meet, if you remember it.
Um, yeah, how did I get there? Right. Well, it all started when I was innocently walking my wallaby through Ukraine. And I was around Hostomel Air Base when the gunships and the fighter jets and the rocket artillery and all the rest of it started impacting. And my wallaby jumped out of my backpack and got lost somewhere on the base. So, I went to find him, and unfortunately, I bumped into Posh's lads.
So, Mayus, you can understand that we can come in and join to our unit in the first day of war. He seriously coming in a hostile airport during Russian pushing on an airport. So it's a very, very brave and courage man. And I think that during our broadcast you will be agree with me on a 100%. It's real true. And Danny, so okay, your first impression about Ukraine, about Ukrainian army. When you are joined to the unit, what the first see?
Um, Considering the amount of firepower that was thrown at us, the gunships, the planes, the artillery, and the fact that nobody ran and they held their ground as long as they could with minimal weapons, just AKs and RPGs, I think they did good.
So yeah, at this time it was a really difficult times where you should understand, my dear, that on a first stage and first period when war start and when we disengage and when we're leaving from our unit, we have nothing. No armored personnel carrier, no tanks. We have nothing. And when we leave from the unit, when we meet with a weekend, uh, we had a bad times in our brigade. And for the first combat mission, we can name it. You remember Irpin? We can Irpin. Remember?
Yeah. Which one was that?
And I mean, I'm asking about it. We can name it's like a first combat mission if we don't include in Hostomel Airport.
Yeah, I'm sitting there thinking, was that the one where we rode into the city on the back of BMPs or BTRs?
Yeah, it was Soviet BTR, APC, BTR 17, and at this time I was crew commander, like a crew commander, and
Yep.
weekend was in my team. You know, I wish to understand that by Ukrainian task organization, infantry section have, for example, BMP or BTR crew for this BTR commander, and seven guys. It's infantry guys, yes, and I was like team leader or something like this. And the weekend was included in my team because at this time we don't have so many officers who can speak English. I think for today we too doesn't have enough, but yes. And the weekend just to join in my unit because when I'm first limit with the weekend, I'm C and this guy, I'm C and you, and I'm understand. Yeah, with this man, we can go to the fight. And yes, what about I told? First our combat operation, we going with a vehicle. We see firstly it's vehicle. We doesn't working before with it. We doesn't know how it work. We doesn't know nobody but how work armament. We make a very quick in a quick time company, and the biggest part of soldiers in this company, we doesn't know who's this guy. For example, we was in one platoon and I was in the first section. I know all guys from my section, but we don't know who are guys from section number two. And yes, it was a very difficult times because we uh, so quickly start our fight. And yes, we go in on our first combat operation without a heavy armament, without heavy vehicle. We have only APC and one armored forces tank. Do you remember this tank, Ricky?
Yeah,
And
yeah. That's the
it,
footage that you've shown in the past.
yeah. I I'm show footage of this tank before, and I'm show it on a VG channel. So yes, and only one tank support us. And Viking, maybe you remember who was a grenade launcher operator in my team.
Yeah, I heard there was a guy, somebody stole his grenade launcher.
And I know who's this guy. I know who's this guy, but I will not say it who, my dears. Uh,
And by
uh,
grenade launcher, it was an RPG. A very awkward thing to carry.
yeah, it's a little bit heavy without with ammunition, but without ammunition, it's not so heavy. But now we don't talk about this RPG. It's lost, it was stolen, and don't worry. We can maybe like a for presentation for our subscribers, for our viewers now on a broadcast. 94 viewers. Hello, everybody, my dears. And maybe you tell a short story about you, because maybe subscribers doesn't understand who are you, what's this a man on a broadcast. But maybe tell about short story about you.
All right. So I turned up in Ukraine before the war started. I was there on a holiday. I wanted to see Europe, and I wanted to go on a sort of field trip. I honestly did not think the Russians would be as stupid as they were after being called out to invade Ukraine. The whole point of them being called out and dates being given was so that Russia would go, well, they know everything we're going to do, we won't do it. But stupid people, you can't predict what's in their mind. So, unfortunately, Russia invaded. On that particular day, me and a group of expats, British, American, Canadian, Greg, and even a little Indian lad were there. And yeah, we were dropped off by a unit, and I say dropped off. That unit ran away and left all the expats behind to save themselves and their black Mercedes or BMWs or whatever the hell they were driving. And yeah, all the expats got spread out and split up and lost, and only me and the Canadian regrouped. And that's how we ended up with your formation. Is anything else you'd like to know?
So yes,
Look,
man. One moment, we can. Man, what Canadian man? What about told weekend? Maybe how long it was happened? It's Greg Canadian, and I'm told on a once of
yeah,
previous broadcast that he was killed in a Bakhmut. Yeah, in a Bakhmut, if I don't mistake.
yeah,
He fight with a Foreign Legion and Weekend's friend, Canadian Greg. He was Ukrainian, but he have Canadian civilian. He was killed when he fight for Ukraine in a Bakhmut. So yes, we should make a remark about him because we should save memories about him. It was a really great man. It's a really great guy. He went from Canada for fight for Ukraine because his mother, father, grandmother, his family from Ukraine. He was from immigrant family who lived in Canada, if I don't mistake. Yes, and he
yeah,
come in Ukraine for fight for his fatherland from Canada. It's a really man's busy. Yeah, so.
yeah, yeah. He was a really good kid, really good kid. Would do anything to help you.
And so,
So
so interesting. Greg, Greg, it was my first assistant for the working with Viking, because when we firstly meet with him, don't at this time I don't understand Aussie accent. Do you remember? Uh, we can
yeah,
say something. I'm saying I don't understand. Right? Repeat, please. Repeat, please. Speak more slowly. Yeah, really. Aussie accent for me at first it was very, very difficult.
yeah.
But
I find that. The Americans have a hard time understanding me, the Brits as well. Unless I'm swearing, then they know what I'm saying.
Yeah, but I think it's just Aussie specification. Uh, I think not every Aussie understands Aussie, but what we want from Ukrainian soldiers and infantry, yes. And Greg was my first assistant for the working with the Viking, and so. Uh, what about I thought about first combat mission? So yes, and
It's
then in Azus time, we doesn't had enough armament. We doesn't had enough heavy vehicle and something like this. And biggest problem it was that we have not enough soldiers because as you know, biggest part of our professional soldiers at this time fight in Rubizhne, and only small part of the soldiers and officers at 24 February was in a brigade. It's no more than 10%, and we doesn't have enough soldiers who can fight because biggest part of the people who was in a brigade at this time it was guys from the supply battalion, from the auto transport battalion, and something like this. And when we preparing to the first combat mission, we choose weekend because I'm just a making section. It's a first company. Do you remember? It was a volunteers company. Best of the best soldiers and officers joined to the first company. We said that it was as old company, yes. And we choose and we take weekend in our small team because we trust for this man. Now, because when we talking with him, he just a little bit describe his experience, and at first I think, ha, it's a typical foraging. Biggest part of the foraging who come in Ukraine, he said a lot about his experience, but in real, they do nothing and they don't understand nothing. But this man, Viking, it's a real man because he don't only talking and he do and do a lot. And do you remember smart so fast RPG course once of the cabinet?
I think that course should be taught like to everyone. I use the same course to teach Daniel and another lad of mine how to operate the RPG. 10-minute lesson, you're good to go.
Yeah, it was. I think it's a shortest RPG course in a world, and
Yeah.
you should understand. I'm just a show for him RPG in a dark room, and ask, "Do you know how it work? Grenade are here, push here, and this shoot." He said, "Okay," and I think, "Beautiful. You will be anti-tank man. You will be RPG operator." It was shortest RPG course in history.
Yeah. It
But
was enough. It was enough for me to teach other soldiers how to use it.
it was not only operator course, it was good example for the instructors. Yes.
Yeah. Stay away from the red end. The red end is hot.
And yeah,
So, what would we like to know? What was the first mission like? The first mission, well, Hostomel itself was terrifying. I'll tell you that now. Um, it was not very pleasant to be there. We didn't have fire superiority. We were overwhelmed by um, aircraft and everything else, and being harassed the whole time. The Irpin mission, I don't recall seeing aircraft. I could hear them, but I couldn't see them. But armor, yes, there was armor and a lot of troops. So yeah, there was a lot of rounds going down range, a lot of mortar fire, 120mm mortar fire, and I think some heavy artillery as well. Do you remember the old lady? Were you there for that? The old lady?
Old lady in a first our house, in a first our stops when
No.
we dismount from the vehicle, and old lady who care about flats, people.
No, not that one. The really old lady. We were at the first set of flats. She was dressed in all black, and she ran out in front of the Russians. She didn't run. She waddled out. She's pretty damn old. She was like 80, 90, and she starts spitting in the direction of the Russians and abusing them and saying, I was here in World War II when you did this. And yeah, this woman was old. She was old as hell. And she was telling the Ukrainian soldiers not to be scared, the Russians and nothing. And
It's
that was the defiance.
it's old woman on the first our stop. Yeah, if I don't, when we just when we come in
Yeah,
Ukraine, if I don't mistake. Yes, yeah, I understand what about it
yeah,
all.
yeah.
You know, civilian part in the war, it's most scared part, in my opinion, because if you are soldier, if you are military, you know what you should do, and you know that you can die and or you can survive. You work with your team, you don't scare it, and you trust to your team and to your commanders, and you know what you will do. But if you are civilian, you don't understand what's happening around you. You just are sitting on a shelter, woman's crying, kids crying, and you just await when your day is coming. I think civilian part in the war, it's a more terrible part of the whole world. Because when you soldier, it's not so scared like a full civilian, in my opinion. And mm, if you
It's the
remember,
hopelessness. They
civi
they can't they can't go anywhere. They're just hopeless. They're stuck. They're stuck between two sides fighting. And as much as we tried to avoid them or warn them, stay inside, some still wish to go outside and see. Such as the woman who wanted to go to the market.
but yeah, they have choose leave from the combat zone or continue living in the combat zone. And the biggest part of the oldest people, they don't leave. And you are right on a 100%. They just was between two fires. Maybe you remember Consul. Do you remember Consul? It was Platoon Commander, Major Consul. Consul.
Sure, man. There's a lot of names I had to remember. You only had to remember
It's a
one.
man. You make photo on a top of APC with this man. He
Oh
make
yeah, yeah, yeah. He was a nice guy. Yeah.
Yeah, and you see this or no? Because I'm not see it personally. When we disengaged after close combat with Russia in Irpin, when we go out from one of the yards, from one of house, just go out from one of house, old man with an RPG and ask, "Where is the fucking Russian? I will shoot by him." And console major just took this RPG, give for this old man frag grenade, and said, "Don't do this, don't do this, man. Get out from here." Do you remember?
Yeah, I can't remember.
And it was first our RPG 18. Yeah, we give it for
Yeah.
this. We give it for the Sasha Weber. No, Sasha, you remember Sasha? Randall.
Yeah.
And yes, and it was RPG from the ones of the old men. And so interesting. It's old man. He wasn't from territorial defense or something like this. Was just a typical Ukrainian old man. And sometimes civilians show real courage. For
Yeah.
example, territorial defense on a huta. Do you remember when we come on once of the checkpoint of territorial defense? And I'm remember about it a lot of times when three guys with one AK-74 just a sewing on a duty on a one post, and they changing two guys on a dish and one guys on a post with AK. Do you remember it?
Oh, I think so, man.
It's a first
So
day.
many.
First day when we start digging, when you start digging.
Yeah.
It's day before this longest night in the world. And yes, why I told about it. Uh, it's a as a choose for the civilian. It's once of choose, it's going to the territorial defense or going to be a partisans. It's more difficult than just to be a civilian in a shelter, but in my opinion, only brave and courageous men can do it. And 100% you will remember about guys who just come in our base and ask, "Hey, gentlemen, do you have some ammunition? Because we have a weapon, but we doesn't have ammo." And do you remember these guys? These guys just give nutrition for us when we live in those building in a Novi Petrice.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. How
Yeah,
how did they
one hundred
go?
per 100% you remember these guys. Maybe you don't remember this place, but 100% you remember these guys. And why I told about him? I'm proud of these guys because territorial defense on Azuz time, it wasn't a military, it wasn't a professional soldier or something like this. It was just a people who was ready fight for his house. They was ready for fight for Ukraine, and I'm proud of him. It's a real very big busy because they wasn't ready. They have not armament, but they try to fight and they try to do something useful for the Ukrainian victory.
Well, it was these people that slowed down the main Russian force so that the Ukrainian military could counterattack. Not knowing who's going to fight you makes it very hard for an invading army. So these these were the men dressed in black tracksuits. Yes, they
Oh,
yeah, they were very brave lads. Um, They were doing guard duties, defending the streets, um, helping wherever they could. So yeah, they were very very brave men, considering the at that stage the whole world said Ukraine will fall within 3 to 7 days.
Yeah,
But we didn't.
yeah, we don't do it because biggest part of the victory near Kyiv, it's only thanks for the civilian people who give information about Russian column, about Russian forces. It's thanks for the Ukrainian partisans, for Ukrainian territorial defense who fight for his house. So it's so sad to say it, but on a Donbass, we don't have same situation. Yeah, remember civilian people on a Donbass? I don't know why, but biggest part of the pro-Russian people living on a Donbass, they hate us. They give a help for the Russian soldiers. They was like a spot. They was a spotter for a Russian army, and it's very sad. It's a big difference between people who fight for Ukraine near Kiev and Ukrainian people who fight for Russia in a Donbass. So yeah, it's just a result of Russian propaganda. But so interesting. Not. It wasn't a smart people. It wasn't a scientist or politicians or something like this. Biggest part of the Russian collaborants is homeless or alcoholic or something like this. So yes,
Yeah, a lot of
it's a
alcohol,
biggest part of alcoholic.
a lot
So
of
yeah,
drunken civilians. Like, why you would stay there is just incredible. Like, the problem with these people, they seem to think, oh, I'm Russian, so I'll be fine. What they don't understand, whether you're Russian, Ukrainian, American, Australian, British, German, artillery, rockets, and bullets do not discriminate what they hit or who they kill. So these people that stayed there blamed Ukraine for bombing them. But we were living in their community. So we're not going to bomb our own positions. But yes, I remember meeting a few civilians, but I never engaged or spoke to them because if I was to talk to them, they would hear my accent, realize I'm a foreigner, and then possibly attack our positions with a larger force. So I did everything I could to hide my accent and my identity from those people. Although the big long beard, they knew I wasn't Slavic.
typical Slavic Viking. So you are right on a 100% because if local people in a Rubizhne, for example, understand that a foreign here, they just report about it to the Russians, and I think primary task of the Russian it will be looking for Fori and show his documents for the accept with the Russian propaganda that, for example, American agents or NATO instructors, NATO mercenaries fight for Ukraine, but we are Russian. We fight for the traditions, for the motherland, and blah 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 blah. And 40 in Ukrainian army, it's one of the reason for the more intensive Russian pushing in Rubizhne. But I think that pushing in Russian push in Rubizhne was so enough. because in my experience, it's the biggest concentration of artillery on a one's position, or biggest concentration of soldiers on the one position. It was a real hell in a fucking urbanization place. So,
Yeah, it was
uh,
very rough, very tough environment. And the Ukrainians that I served with in that environment were like outstanding. Like they did really well to hold back the Russian tide. But the artillery, the rockets, the mortars, the fighter jets striking the buildings that we were in, it was crazy. I'd
so
never seen that in any other theatre of war that I'd been in, and I've been in a few.
because maybe Ukrainian theater of war is a unicum theater of war in 21st century. And previous century, like ideal, it was a Second World War. In our century, it's a war in Ukraine.
Yeah.
And I wanna ask you, but you remember, yes, when we going to Donbass, we are going in a 40 team. It was a mixed American, Brits. No, biggest part was American, and this time, do you remember that we had not enough English speaker soldiers? And just to save your impression about operation with with us, and about your communication with Ukrainian when you was without me, for example, and how it was for you.
For me, it was hard. Um, One of the hardest things is the artillery and all the rest of it tends to destroy your hearing. So when someone is speaking to you with a strong accent, it's hard to understand. And having no one with English speaking around you is even worse. It was it was bad. If they decided to leave, I wouldn't know unless somebody grabbed me by the hand and said, "We go, Viking. We leave. We leave." It was it's confusing. It's hard, but you got to put your faith in the men that you're working with, and that's what we did. We just put our faith in the men that we were working with, that their intentions were to protect us as we protect them, and it worked.
Yeah, basic communication. It's very, very important. But so as a part, you remember American guys who were on a who change us on a position. I will not ask you. Remember, you fight on a hammer. You are remember it's 100%. But it's unreal. Forgot about
was
him.
was that where they killed us all? Remember that the Russians killed us all.
Yeah, well, um, I'm just wanna tell about situation where when you are going to the sergeant position, and we was on our previous, we come back to the previous position, and so interesting fact. Uh, do you remember who changed us on our 11 position? It's a Molfar with guys, and two our American was with him on a position. Do you remember it?
Yeah.
So, and for me, I don't ask his about it, uh, but for me, very, very interesting how they fight nearly 2 hours when two Americans and two Ukrainians, two Americans don't understand Ukrainian and two Ukrainians don't understand the English. For me, very, very interesting how they fight on a separate position. So
Yeah.
I think you
I
some
think
say
we all got, we all got separated that day, didn't we? On that particular day, I ended up in one building, you guys ended up in another building and in another position. So
mm,
I ended up with the sergeant major and the mechanized group fighting from one building. You guys were somewhere else. I don't know. Yeah, it was very very full on, very aggressive attacks by the Russians. A lot of, once again, artillery, mortars, rockets, airstrikes on the buildings we were in. I had an artillery round land above my head as I was running down a stairwell and just blew concrete dust all over me.
so yeah,
But yes,
building it was totally concrete building, and why this building so dangerous? Because AKA bullet 5.45 can ricochet. It's not 100% that bullet will do it, but we have a big chance that bullet will make ricochet from the concrete because concrete so soft. For example, yes, it was a difficult fight, and we forgot. Sorry, Danny. We will continue when I'm say thank you for our donators. It's Suzanne Kniffen, Rick Sanchez, OZT, Red Bull for the fun. Thanks, Ozzy. Uh, Susan Kniffen
yeah,
again,
very
RF
good.
from United States, Mr. Biggs, Ann Hill, and Susan Kniffen again. Thanks for your donation. And sorry, I'm lose a previous donation. Sorry, I will not do it in the future. Sorry, my dears. And yeah, we will continue. And, so, what I wanna ask, my next question, my dear Viking. So, you saw in not only my unit, you saw in other teams, and in your ideas, in your opinion, what you wanna change in a work with the foreigners in the Ukrainian army? What's wrong we do, or what's we do good? And just to describe it for us.
What do foreigners do good or bad, or what do Ukrainians do good or bad?
What
What is
Ukrainians at first say about Ukrainians, and after it told about foreigners. I'm asking about foreigners now. Answer me about Ukrainians. What do we do wrong, or what we do good when we work with foreigners? From your
what
personal
I
experience.
observed? What I observed, and it's not just Ukraine that does it. It's Western military as well that's been doing it for many, many years. Basically, I'm old. I'm older than dirt. You know, when Jesus was born, I gave him a pet dinosaur. That's how old I am. What I grew up and I was in the Army Cadets at the age of 13. Back then, the people who trained us were World War II and Vietnam vets, and they always taught us spacing. Then I went to the Australian military. I trained with them. And then I left them and I did other jobs in the background along military lines still. But the thing I've seen is that people group up. They huddle together. And the more men in one position, the better the target, the bigger the target. So men need to spread out more, both Ukrainian and Western troops. They cannot all hide in one building and think they're safe. It's not good. You know, you need to make it, put a value on that target. You know, is it worth me firing a $250,000 rocket at 3 or 4 men? Or is it worth me firing a $250,000 rocket at 20 to 30 men or 50 men? Or in the Russian case, 200. So the biggest failure I see is people being too close together, not spreading out, shooting past each other. So the guy at the front is shooting, the guy at the rear is using him as a shield and shooting inches past him, which is damn dangerous. I've seen it. A lot of troops do that. I even know of guys who were shot in the back of the legs from the guy behind them, breaking their femurs. Spacing is everything, especially in this type of war. You need to spread out. You need to stay low. You're going back to not a counterinsurgency, but a conventional warfare system again. And it's important that you give the enemy less targets. You spread out. You don't shoot from the same position. You stay fluid. You stay mobile as long as you can. And wait for orders.
So, but you describe about a typical tactical mistake. It's a small mistake, maybe not a tactical. It's individual mistake. It's a, you know, in my opinion, it's not depend from the level of training of one soldiers. It's depend from your favorite topic during training, from the combat discipline. Because when we talk about the combat discipline, we talk about distance, we talk about light, we talk about cover, we talk about how you should occupy position for the how it's be safety for the whole team. But during combat, during fight, during artillery shelling, soldier just forgot about it.
Yeah.
So he just forgot.
Yeah.
It's maybe panic, maybe not panic, but it's really horrible. And the soldier forgot about it and do this mistake. You know, uh, in my opinion, you told about not about typical Ukrainian mistake. It's a human
It's a
mistake.
convention.
It's a
Yeah. It's
it's a
not.
personal mistake of biggest part of the
Yeah.
soldier.
Yeah. Like, convoy wise, the same thing. Like, when people group up their vehicles, you're giving the enemy a bigger chance to destroy multiple vehicles. You always need to think, where would I run for cover? Can the enemy see me? Always assume the enemy can see you. Always assume that he knows where you are. So that way, as you walk, you got to predict where you're going to go, left, right. during combat, if something happens there and then, which way am I going to go? If a mortar falls, I need to take cover. Where am I going to run? If somebody opens up with a machine gun or rifle fire, which way am I going to move? You always need to stay focused. You always need to be on the run. It's a very confusing situation, but as long as you keep your head clear, there's a good chance that you can survive. It's very possible to escape the most extreme things. Like as said, the Russians have killed us now so many times. I think they killed us at Hostomel, they killed us at Irpin, Bucha, Rubizny. They keep killing us, but we keep coming back. I don't know. Like, maybe they think there's a clone box of us somewhere, and we just keep launching the same soldiers back at them.
No, maybe we were just lucky. So, yeah,
Yeah.
but without talking about a typical people's mistake. So yeah, but what is, in your opinion, what is a general mistake of the foreign soldier who join in Ukraine army in a foreign legion or in a other unit? What they do wrong, in your opinion, by your experience? For example, sorry. We can, for example, by my experience, they talk a lot. They talk a lot. They promise a lot. They say that they understand everyone on this world. They can shoot from the all types of the weapons, all grenade launcher, and they can drive all types of vehicles, and he can be a sapper, APC driver, Ricky scout, sniper, machine gunner, super duper Cosmo Marines. But when situation when you should do something is coming, they say, sorry, I'm pussy. I'm go home. It's
Yeah, this has been a big problem with foreigners going over to Ukraine. Um, even veterans who have served in combat in Iraq and Afghanistan were not prepared for what happened in Ukraine. Um, in Iraq and Afghanistan, we had the overwhelming firepower and superiority. But the difference between the West and Russia, we did not go and carpet bomb the cities. We did not annihilate entire villages and stuff like that. You could walk through that village and you wouldn't even know there was a war. Ukraine, on the other hand, the Russians level everything. They indiscriminately just fire and fire and fire, like meter by meter until there's nothing left. Then they move their guns forward 10, 20, even a kilometer, and then repeat. And that's how they destroy these cities. They just carpet bomb. Western soldiers have not been exposed to that, and they turn up, and nor had the Ukrainians. Like, no one had, possibly the Syrians. But Western soldiers had not been exposed to that. So having this constant shelling and everything around you crumbling down tends to make or break people. So yes, I have seen a lot of people make false claims and come to the battlefield, and generally it's bad. The three major groups, the three major lies are: one, I'm a sniper. They choose sniper because they play a lot of computer games, and they've seen a lot of movies, and it looks like an easy job where you sit at the back in safety, and you sucker punch some guy with a sniper shot who's fighting somebody else. That's what they think. Number two is drone operators. A lot of
Oh,
Westerners are coming over saying they're
it's
drone
my
operators.
favorite. It's my favorite.
Yeah, because they're at the back, they can drop bombs, but they don't have to put themselves at risk.
In Ukraine, we said,
Number
okay,
three,
okay, continue, continue.
number three, and this is the worst one you could say you are, is a medic. They want to help. They say they're a medic, but they don't understand that we rely on you to keep soldiers alive. And if you say you're a medic and you crumble in battle, you're now a casualty as well. Not only do we have to carry out a wounded man, but we also have to carry out medics, which I've heard of circumstances where the medics who were uninjured called for medics and did not treat the wounded soldiers. So, yeah, they're the Westerners that lie and say they're something else. Pretty bad. My recommendation is don't fucking lie. Just turn up, tell them who you are. Um, if you want to join, like, people will train you and help you, but don't lie. Don't say you're a space cadet because, you're going to get put in a situation where you're needed and you can't do it. You'll get killed or you'll get somebody else killed in the process.
So yeah, you're right on the 100%. And if first and second rolls, it's funny. Third roll, it's dangerous. If he says that he a sniper, it's just the experience from the computer game. But drone operators, we in Ukraine we said, okay, I buy drone, I will be drone operators. It's too not so dangerous, but if soldier or specialist lie about medic experience, it's very dangerous for the whole unit because you try to trust to your medic and you trust that this medic can help you if you will be wounded or something like this. But if he don't know what he should do, if he doesn't have experience, he can kill you. And if your medic kill you, it's I don't know, it's more dangerous if you will be just injured or something like this. If you have a stupid medic, it's more dangerous than just a shrapnel or bullet in your leg. So yeah, it's a true. You're right on a 100%. Just don't lie. Don't lie. Just do what you can do. It's not bad if you doesn't have a combat experience. You will not do combat experience before you doesn't take part in real combat operations. If you served in army, just say that I was just a gunner, machine gunner, or I was a cook, or something like this. It's okay, and commanders will understand the experience of the volunteer and will use it like a specialist, or make more training for formatting specialist. But yeah, when volunteers present said about yourself that he is really Captain America because he have a very high rank in a Counter-Strike or in a Call of Duty, it's dangerous for the whole unit. So yes, it's 100% true. So yeah.
Yes, it's very amusing, but it's also very sad because when these guys make their mistakes, we've got to carry them off the battlefield and we've got to bury them. And that's probably the worst thing. We know people want to help and we understand and we thank you, but at the same time, be honest, don't tell lies, because guys like me will look at your paperwork and go, this guy's full of shit. Why is he lying? He's dangerous. We don't want him.
It's more dangerous than Russian.
It is. It is. Because you don't know if they're going to shoot you in the back by mistake or throw a grenade at your position because they're scared. There's a lot of factors that can go wrong. Guys I've seen curl up into balls on the ground and not fire their weapons at enemy as the enemy are pushing us. So yeah, it can be a very serious incident.
Okay.
All right, what is your next question?
So my next, will say thanks for donation for Cats. Susan Niffen again, Chuck Yamoret, OZT again, and my dears, you know that question function is working. Question function is working. If you wanna give a question for me or for the Viking, just write message in a question functions because it will be more comfortable for me to choose and read your question. And first question from it will be questions from the subscribers. And first question for you: how long is the contract for foreigners? It's question from Wuhan Institute of Virusology. Virusology. How long is the contract for foreigners?
The contract for foreigners can be up to 3 years, or as long as the war lasts. It's up to you how long you wish to sign for.
So you mean it depends from you. Just a standard, you make contract on a 3 years, but you can leave when you wanna, yeah?
You have an open contract depending on who you sign to. If you sign to a regular Ukrainian unit, if they allow that, then you must abide by the Ukrainian law and do what they say. If you sign to one of the foreign volunteer units, it's different. It's an open contract. If you sign and you can't do it, it's too hard, it's too scary for you, you can leave. And you'll find a lot of people fine with that because they don't, if you're scared and you can't work, people don't want to carry you. It's better you just leave. So they keep it open so that people can leave.
It will be better for everybody. You scared. So yes, and next question from the checking out Viking, your favorite Ukrainian food?
My favorite Ukrainian food. Oh, I guess borscht.
So it's very
Actually,
typical.
I like the rib joint. The barbecue rib joint's good in Kiev.
Yeah, I'm talking about this rib place in a Kiev. Yeah, I wait that you make answer that it's a ribs place in Kiev. Borscht, it's a very, very typical, everybody like borscht, but not every know about ribs place in Kiev.
Yeah, there are some amazing places in Kiev and Kharkiv and
No, no,
some of
no.
the other cities.
This place only in
Eat.
Kiev and in Lviv, only in these two cities.
Yeah.
And okay, I wanna say thanks for donation to Charlie Manson. And it's a question for me, I think, from July Nor. If you get hurt or sick, do you get medical help or do you have to pay for it yourself? Um, all regular soldiers and officers can get medical help free because in Ukraine we have special clinics for the military and for police, same situation. And for example, if you're sick and you need buy a medication, you just make a report for the commander, and the medical point of brigade can buy medication for you. For the military, it's free. If officially going to the clinic or something like this, it will be free. But if you go into the personal doctor, you will pay for it.
For the foreign contractors, if you are signed to a legitimate organization, it is also free. Um, but at the same time, as somebody said to me, civilians do not pay for medical treatment if they are taken to hospital with a bullet wound or artillery or shrapnel injuries. From what I understand, they're not forced to pay, so that may answer your question.
So, and we say thanks for donation for Indelible, and it's first donation of Indelible thanks, and we will find next question. Uh, so many question. I will choose. I will question after question. So, maybe it's a question for you, Wigging. One moment, I read. What was your hardest time and how did you get out?
Oh, the hardest time. I think I got to tell you, every time was hard. There, it's there's not an easy time. Even when you're not being shot at, it's still hard because there's mines on the ground, there's artillery, there's mortars. So hardest times. Sheesh. Is this just in Ukraine or globally? Because I've been in a lot of tough situations. At the end of the day, how I make it out is I breathe and I try and focus and I pay attention to my environment and yeah, I just focus on when it's time to move, move. When it's time to hit the ground, hit the ground. Don't just get up and run blindly because you may not make it out. But if there's that stage where I tell you to get up and run like hell, you run. If I tell you the bullets aren't being fired at you, they're not being fired at you. If the rounds aren't near you, then I'll tell you the rounds aren't near you. Keep moving, keep moving. But focus. breathing, keeping a very cool, calm head is the only way I think I've got out. And 50% luck. Don't forget luck. Luck is there as well.
Luck and experience. And
All the experience in the world won't save you if your time's up.
and the question from my friend, it's aka Crowd74. What do people say or ask you most about your experience in Ukraine and elsewhere? Question for boss. I will repeat question and you answer first. What do people say or ask you most about your experience in Ukraine and elsewhere?
What did I ask me most? What's Ukraine like? Ukraine's beautiful. It's like any country in the world. The people are pretty pleasant. Um, the city of Kiev is a very nice city. Um, yeah, I think they asked me about the living conditions of Ukraine. Living conditions are good. If the war wasn't there, if the war didn't hit Ukraine, then the living conditions would be amazing, and I'd say go and visit. It's great.
Thanks.
Um, they asked me how do people cope, and that's a different thing. You know, you talk to people who have been living through this indiscriminate bombing of their cities for the last year, and they're scared. You know, the women are scared to send their children to school because if they go to school and the school gets bombed, because we know the Russians bomb schools, they'll never see their children again. So it's very hard for the Ukrainian people, the mothers, the children, the fathers, the grandparents. Families are separated. Um, every night they go to sleep. Some of them have a fear that they may not wake up due to the artillery or the indiscriminate airstrikes. So that is one of the questions people ask me. How do the Ukrainians cope with it? They wake up in the morning, they put their shoes on, and they go to work. It's all they can do.
So, and I understand why people ask you about it because a lot of TV show, I mean, foreigners TV show for the as a world, for the civilizational world, ruins in Ukraine, war in Ukraine, and sometimes people thinking that all Ukraine now ruined and under bombing now, under missile now, and sometimes people doesn't understand that typical civilian life in Ukraine is continuous, and how Ukrainian living during war. Yeah, and I understand why people ask you about it. So, and sometimes when I'm read the comments, when my photo friends send me some photo, for example, um, I forgot how it name. Uh, wait, some fundraising for Ukraine, and it's a Western fundraising, American or something like this. And in pictures of this fundraising, America show Ukraine like a totally ruined country, and it's old ladies on this photo background. It's total ruins, and sometimes people think it's Ukraine. It's 100% ruins. And when I'm hear about it, and when I'm see it, my ideas making travel blog for the foreigner and show more Ukraine, not only Ruin, not only Donbass, not only Bakhmut, increasing and increasing. Yes, because people don't know a real situation in other region of Ukraine. Yeah, and biggest part of the people can't understand how you can live in during war. Yeah, but it's real. It's possible. It's difficult. It's dangerous, but it's possible.
Yeah. The cities that haven't been affected, life goes on. But the cities like Bakhmut, you've seen the videos, that place is annihilated. Rubizny, when we were there, that place was shattered. Um, Severodonetsk, places that we've worked in, the Russians have just bombed everything.
Yeah.
Like, I remember that one mission we did, and we had to walk into position. And as we were walking, you could see fires everywhere. There were no houses, just rubble everywhere and fire, just trees burning. That it looked like, I don't know, you'd think it was a homeless camp. There was just hundreds of fires all around us on both sides, and we were just moving into a position, just going, wow.
Yeah.
That's what it's like at the front line, but at the rear, it's good for now, except for the indiscriminate bombing. The U.S. Patriot systems, the Western packages that have been sent to Ukraine, the anti-air and all that, has made the cities and the surrounding environments much safer now, for the Ukrainian people. So in the beginning of the war, you'd hear air sirens going off all the time, and you'd hear the incoming rockets, and you'd see missiles being shot up into the air and explosions in the sky, and then you'd hear impacts and bigger explosions. I know people are still scared in Kiev, but with the Western weapons filtering through, the German Gepard and stuff like that, the air threat to these cities is becoming safer. And even though the people I talk to in Ukraine are still scared when they go to sleep at night, they have that little bit of safety now that they didn't have this time last year.
So, yeah, I hope so soon it will finish it. And it's only thanks for the Westerns ADA system and only thanks for the Western types of armaments. Because when Kiev was upgraded by Patriots, we can feel safety. 95% of the missile are destroyed in the sky. They doesn't destroy civilian infrastructure, houses, yes. And we feel more safety thanks for the ADA, Western ADA system, and thanks for the partner support. And Viking, I see two similar questions. It's a questions from the Robin. How do you deal with exhausting both mentally and physically? And the question from the Kellen Dunn. Are there enough mental health support for the soldier? So it's a very, very similar question. I will answer on a second, and you will answer on a first. Kellen Dunn. So in Ukrainian army, 5 years ago, was organized a special psychological support service. It's a military psychologist who served in battalion and working with soldier. So, but it's not funny. No,
Was
it's not funny. Yeah,
was that
okay.
woman that made us sit on each other's laps?
Okay, it's funny. Yes, yes, it's guys who see
Remember
the
that?
but I wanna say that it's not enough. Good psychological support. It's when commander give weekends for you, and you can go home for the have time with your family, with your girl, friends, or something like this, or with your boyfriend. So yeah, government try to do something for the physically, psychologically condition of the soldier. For example, in Ukraine now work in call center. Name of this call center. How are you? Як ти? It's like a hotline for the veterans. If you have some psychological troubles, you can call on this hotline, and psychologist, professional psychologist, not a military psychologist, professionally psychologist can give a help for you. Yes, government try to do something, but I think biggest psychological support it's when commander give weekend for you and you can go to the home. So yes, and weekend, it's a question for you. How do you deal with exhausting, both mentally and physically?
What do I deal with it?
Yeah, what I do is it.
Um, I guess just for me, I try not to think about it. I do a lot of computer gaming. Computer gaming, I just focus on the screen. I focus on what I'm doing. That's it. It keeps me mentally stimulated. Although I can lose my shit on occasion because I don't like losing. So, for me, reaching out to friends, giving them a call, saying g'day, uh, that's definitely a big mental stimulus. You know, to hear from a friend that you served with in Iraq, Afghanistan, or Ukraine, that's a bit of help. Um, it is hard, but you know, you choose the role, you gotta deal with it. You can't just sit there and think, oh, woe is me, feel sorry for me. You don't. I never want people to feel sorry for me. Like, don't. I get injured, I get up, I move on. That's how I roll. Others might curl up into a ball and cry and do their thing. Um, Deal with it in different ways. I don't know. But me, computer gaming, and I just ignore it. That's all I can do. Ignore it. I know there are people out there that need me to stay strong so that I can give them support as well. So the best way to think is no matter how bad you have it, there is always somebody out there that is worse off than you.
Yeah, you're right.
Hope that
So
answered your question.
some, yeah, yeah, you're on a 100% answering the question, and it's a very, very good thing, in my opinion, because your mental trouble, you can't heal it. You can only ignore it and avoid it. And the computer game, it's a very useful type of ignoring shit in our heads. And the family, it's a good type of ignore shit in our heads. But people with no strange or stupid people sometimes choose alcohol or drugs for it's like a for fight with his mental trouble, But really, I think, in my opinion, it's real shit. Because with alcohol or with drugs, you can't avoid your problem, you can't heal your problem. You only make your problem biggest, but you don't
Yeah.
avoid it. And
Psychologically, it's a downer.
a lot
So
of
drinking too much, it's bad for your body as it is, but it brings your mental health down as well.
Yeah, it's not only about body. Your mental status will be too more worse because when you're drunk, you're destroyed. You are destroying your brains. Same shit with drugs. And yes, and it's not type of ignoring or I don't know rehabilitation. Yeah, it's you're just making real shit in your head when you use these types, drugs and alcohol. So thanks for the question and thanks for the answer, Weekend. So good answer. And we wanna say thanks for support for Anhale, Lean, Stefanisian, Borst, Wheels, Susan, Iphone, and very big thanks for the Kellen done. So
Whatever
and
questions you have.
yeah. It's question for you, I think. How long were you in the hospital after wounded?
I was in the hospital for 1 month.
It was question from a friend, my friend from AK, and you will like this question, Weekend. And what are your favorite games?
My favorite games are the games I hate the most. My favorite game would be Punch Showdown. Um, I have a love-hate relationship with that game. I love it, but I hate it so much. Steel Division 2, the Eastern Front. I'd like to say Hell Let Loose, but that game's harder than actually fighting in Ukraine.
Yeah, you are right. Because when I'm a
You've got
use
more
my
chance of surviving.
yeah,
You have
so
more chance of surviving in a Russian artillery barrage than you do in Hell Let Loose in real life.
yeah, Hell Let Loose, it's like a simulator of Ukraine, but during Second World War, because so intensive artillery and so realistic sounds if you use headphones. Because I'm use I'm use gaming headphones, and when I'm playing in Hell Let Loose, I'm have flashback when fucking artillery just chilling near.
I've I've ducked a couple of times. Oh,
I cannot
but
play.
I play a large variety of games. I like the horror games as well. The Exorcist in VR was amazing. Um, yeah, I've got a large variety of games.
I think we will discuss about games when I'm made a special stream project on the Twitch, and you will teach me how to play in a Hunt Showdown or something like this. Uh, sorry.
All right. Next question.
Thanks for donation, Miriam Ward. Glad to see you here on a broadcast. Hey Pasha, hey friends, I'm late. Sorry, looking forward to Ukraine victory. Much love and respect. And my dears, I'm see that numbers of the viewers increasing now. Who don't know, it's my best of the best ever volunteer T or Viking, uh, and he is a guest of our broadcast. He fight with me in a Kiev campaign and in Rubizhne, and we do some separate shit. But yes, it's my one of the best friends. So, and the next questions before next question, I will say thanks to the Jack Ray. And the next question, it's again a question for you. Was it hard language barrier if this was the chap and hospital?
Um, yes, it was. In hospital, like I couldn't speak to anyone really. No one spoke English, but they all understood that I was a foreigner. So I think just by the look of me, they knew I was not Ukrainian. So the best way to communicate is Google Translate. Pull out your mobile phone and talk. But for the first week, I had no mobile phone, so it was pretty tough. I had to wait all day for one person who could speak a little English to translate for me.
So,
I think I called you once as well, didn't I, Pasha?
what was that?
And asked you to I think I rang you once and said, Pasha, can you translate for me
Ah,
when I was in
yeah.
hospital?
I remember when we can just call me, give mobile phone for the women nurse, and we had some dialogue. Yeah. So yeah, it's a real shit. And so it's a comments from the chat. I will read it from the AKA. AKA Croat. Has he found a Ukrainian girl to settle down with? Maybe nurse that loves foreigner.
Oh, yeah, maybe.
It's your small secret. It's your small secret.
Yeah.
Um, okay. How do you handle your fear when there is artillery or bullets flying so close? Hmm?
Yeah, fear is a contagious disease that can be spread very rapidly to everyone around you. It is a mental disease that spreads like lightning. How you manage this fear is up to you, but basically breathe, focus. You might be scared. The guy next to you is also scared. You know, you've got to remain in control. You've got to focus. You've got to breathe. Look at the guy next to you. He's probably just as scared. If you stay focused and you stay calm, then it's very manageable. But you cannot let fear overwhelm you. And that is in all factors of life, because once fear takes over your body, that is it. You submit to the end, the inevitable, whether it be an attacker on the street, walking in your hometown, or a bully in a bar, or the battlefield. Fear must always be controlled. You can be scared, that's fine, but don't ever let it control your life. I hope that answered your question. Focus, breathe, think.
So yeah, it's just a fear management, but you can you cannot fight against your fear because you doesn't. If you don't scare it, you are die. But yeah, you can a little bit manage your fear. So, and I will looking for the next question. I think it's will be one of the last questions. Uh, it will be one of the last questions, and it's question from the Borst Wheel. Pasha, what surprised you most about Foreign volunteers? I was surprised that some parts of the foreigners volunteers can speak Ukrainian. It's a or Russian. It's a uh, Polish volunteers like Danila. Sweet memories for Danila. We understand. I'm understand Polish volunteers Danila, and he understand me, and the Greg too. He was fully Canadian, but he very good spoke on Ukrainian language, and it was I was very surprised. Yes, so I think it's a most useful function for the Ukrainian volunteers. If you want to be a volunteer in Ukraine, at first study Ukrainian language. After it, study sniping or drone operators training or something like this. At first, study Ukrainian. Viking, for example, since from previous year, don't study no one words. Yes?
I studied German.
No, don't speak German here. I know what you study. Nicht
But
sprechen,
I
nicht,
had
nicht spricht Deutsch, nicht spricht Deutsch.
Nein
It's
sprechen die Deutsch.
nicht sprechen die Deutsch because it will be very brutal. We will be banned after your favorite Deutsch phrase.
uh, yes. So, as for the foreigners wanting to come here, um, yeah, there is a language barrier. Google Apps can help you communicate with the local population, but you got to be patient when you talk to them. Google does not always translate what you say correctly. Be aware.
Yeah,
You
it's a
may
what?
be put in some very compromising positions.
It's a big trouble because sometimes Google Translate don't correctly translate what do you want to say, and it's to make some problems. Sometimes it's make a big problems. And question for
Yes, it
you,
does.
question for you. I know at first China Caldwell. In United States, we will celebrate Father's Day on a Sunday. Do you guys have a similar holiday? Yeah, in Ukraine we say we have, but I don't remember when it will be. But it will be in this month. I don't remember when, but yeah, we will do it. I think in Australia same in a Sunday will be Father's Days. Yeah.
Yeah, we have a Father's Day coming up, I think. I've seen some ads. I'm not sure what date it is, but I've seen some TV ads.
And question for you personally, are great whites in Australia hungry for Russians too?
Yeah, our great whites in Australia are non-discriminate. They will eat anyone. They don't care. They are big and they are angry.
Uh, and next question from the calendar. Hi Pasha, and For you too, I think more important if and more useful if you will answer on this question. Do you have any suggestions for the foreigners like me, American, who want to come to Ukraine to volunteers with humanitarian efforts like animal rescue, civilian food centers, etc.? Maybe you have some
Um,
suggestions.
Suggestions. Yeah, there are plenty of organisations that need help. I know of a couple of organisations that rescue animals. There are medical volunteer groups that work here. Um, there are people just trying to raise funds to, or just deliver gear, just delivering equipment and food and supplies to civilians and military. There's a lot of help that is needed in this country. So my advice would be, once again, Google Translator on your phone. You do your research online before you approach, and for your own safety, tell people where you were going and what you were planning, who you were going to see, because there are a lot of fraudulent organizations and foreign volunteers working here as well. So we call them liars. Yes, they are. There are those people who claim to be here to help, but they're making a lot of money doing nothing. Just making money, living the high life, using other people's pictures, claiming it's theirs. So do your research online, find the organizations that you'd like to work for, what you'd like to do. Understand that a lot of them do not pay, and all expenses are on you. If you're lucky, you might find a place that will give you accommodation and um, food. So, but yeah, you need to be careful of who you sign to, because there are fraudulent organizations that have come from the West cashing in on the war, including soldiers who get on TikTok and YouTube and pretend they're elite soldiers fighting the war, but we call them TikTok soldiers. They go, they join a unit, they get a couple of photos with weapons, and then tell war stories of how an artillery round went off 500 meters from them.
Is it true? We say the Snapchat tourist. My Japanese friend said Snapchat tourist, not a soldier, just a Snapchat or Instagram tourist. Yeah, it's a once of
Yeah.
type of the volunteers. Doesn't matter civilian or military volunteers. They say Snapchat tourists do nothing but make a lot of photo or videos or something like this. Social activities.
Yeah.
So,
Well, they ask for donations, and people help them, and it's just sad that these guys are diverting that attention away from the serious issues, which are those who are serving on the front lines.
so I think thanks for the interesting dialogue, Viking. Thanks, my dears, for the activity in the chat. I think it's not last our translation. Yeah, Viking. I'm asking you.
Yes.
I hope it's not last our translation.
Oh, our last stream. Yeah, no, I
No,
think
yeah.
it's we can
Uh,
do this again.
we start. So we make petition for the our Twitch channel when we were where we will play in an a hand showdown or on a hell let loose on a Twitch little bit later. So
Probably don't want me on this Twitch channel. I'm not very polite.
okay, thanks for the activity in the chat. Thanks for your support, my dears. See ya soon. Thanks weekends that you are coming in my broadcast. I'm very happy that you are coming. I'm thinking about it a lot of times, but today you are coming. Thanks, my brother and my dears. Do I 2 hours 50 minutes in Ukraine. It's night. I will go to sleep. And you, my dears, have a nice day, have a nice evening or morning. If you are Aussie or New Zealand, thanks that you are coming on our broadcast. And see you later. We can say goodbye for our dears.
See you later. Slava Ukraine, and thank you all very much for your support.
Okay. See ya later.